is Robin from Derketa, Gruesome, and Castrator, and you're listening to Jet on Metal Messiah Radio. In your face.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Today we have a special guest with us. We have bass player of Derketa, as well as Gruesome, and tour manager to the Metal Stars, Robin Mazen. Welcome to the show, Robin.
Hi.
So, Robin, you're so deeply involved in the metal scene in like so many different aspects. So when did you first start to get into metal, and who were some of your like early influences?
Oh my God, the first metal, heavy metal. I've always been into like every type of metal. I mean, I remember hearing AC/DC and Joan Jett when I was like in grade school, like a kid. You know, I was in 4th grade and this kid Frank brought in AC/DC for show and tell, and I was like, what's that? And I had to go home and buy it. So, you know, I mean, I knew who Kiss was and Van Halen and all that, but I never heard like AC. I was like, what is this? It was like heavier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it was like, you know, and then it just progressed, and then, you know, like, either you get out of it or you get further deeper in it, and I got further deeper in it. So, you know.
So what was, like, your first concert that now that you're all hooked from your AC/DC tape?
Well, it was vinyl, but...
I knew it could only be either that or cassette, so...
Yeah. Well, I had an 8-track also of it, so that's there to go. I'm going to give away my age, even though I lie about it. But my first concert was Motley Crue.
So what did you think? So there you go. Now you're seeing these guys like live, big up on the stage. Because back then... I mean, not that concerts aren't a big thing now, but we didn't have any internet or YouTube or any of that kind of stuff. And if we wanted to see somebody play, we had to see them live. And it was just, for me, it was so much bigger than life back then. So what was that experience like for you, seeing Motley Crue up there?
I feel the same. I feel like the energy back then was so different also at bigger shows. It's hard. I don't know if it's because I don't want to say jaded, but I just feel like it was like so, the vibes were so different back then at concerts. I know it's hard for me, you know, maybe because I'm around it so much now. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does, but you know what? I think it's also because we know what to expect before we even go see a show now, because we can go on YouTube, we could watch it live on YouTube. So
yeah, I'm still silly. I won't look up I try not to look up a
That's good.
set list. Like, I don't get excited about too many shows now because I see everybody all the time. I'm lucky enough to do that, and I'm still a fan of like the music, so I'm still excited to be at these shows and everything. So, but like there's certain concerts that I'll go to, like the Scorpions I just went to, and like I wouldn't look up the set list because I wanted to be surprised of what they played. You know what I mean? Even though I kind of knew because I saw them a little bit before, but I wanted to be like, oh, what are they, you know, I wanted that excitement. Like, oh, what's going to be next? Oh, what's going to be next? You know?
Well, that's what makes it fun, you know, leaving some of that there so you could be like, you know, back in the olden days when we were like that too, you know, it's just...
Yeah.
So when did you start playing bass, Robin, and was that like your first instrument that you ever played?
Well, no, I mean, I think like most kids, it was like, you know, the recorder, you know. And then, you know, I took piano also for years. And then I actually played guitar first. Mm-hmm. And then I switched to bass.
And now I
was technically a guitar player.
Did you take piano because you wanted to or because your parents made you?
A little bit of both. I think I was like excited to play it and I was really into it, but when it came to forcing me to practice it, I was not into that. Like now I wish I paid more, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wish I practiced because then I'm like, you know.
I know, because that's exactly... Well, the first two things are how my musical career progressed too. Three blind mice on the recorder.
Yep.
And then my parents making me take piano lessons, but it was too disciplined for me, and I wasn't disciplined enough for it, so it just didn't rub me. But I feel the same way now, looking back on hindsight. I wish I stuck with it, but oh well.
Yeah, like when I was playing guitar, it was like I played in high school, and I wanted to play, and I would sit there and I would do, take guitar magazines, and like Metallica, I would go under every note and write each, note what it was, and I would teach it to myself, because I was so into it. Now I don't know if I don't know if it's because I'm so busy, and I mean, I still have to learn stuff, but I don't know if I would take the time to do that anymore. Now it's like, just show me what to play, and I'll do
it. So Robin, so what was like the first band you were in? I mean, when you were, younger, what was like the first band, whether it be a garage band or whatever? Were you playing like Motley Crue covers and stuff?
Oh, well, that's so funny, because like, the first band that I technically started was me and my two friends, and we called ourselves Nyx, NYX. Oh. It's like some like mythological goddess thing. Mm-hmm. And we didn't we would just, I could play a little bit back then. I mean, we were like kids. I'm going back. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't like really do anything. And we would just put on records and, pretend to like air guitar and play and sing to them, and that was our first band. So, and then after that, like my first band, it was in high school. I tried to start a band. Actually, we were talking about it, and it was a girl in my guitar class, this girl Michelle, who actually was later played in Jack Off Jill, and I think she still plays with them. Mm-hmm. And we never did anything. We were gonna do like some covers and everything, but nothing ever happened. So
what was like the first band that you got into that actually played a show?
Well, that like basically I was gonna start. I was playing, and I was friends with the guys in Cynic back then, and they were friends with Derketa, and they were like, "Oh, Derketa needs a guitar player," and they put me in touch with Terry. Mm-hmm. And I flew to Pittsburgh, actually, and I was actually going to play guitar in Derketa, but then that's when everything kind of, disbanded at that point, and Terry and Mary were doing Mythic, and they asked me to be in Mythic, and I really didn't want to at that time. I was just really going to do Derketa, and that's when I flew home and I started Demonomacy. So Demonomacy was technically like the first band that I actually was writing and playing, and that's when I switched to bass on that.
So then when Derketa got back together, and I know their bass player became their guitar player or something.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. I'm like,
when they were getting back together, I'm like, we need to do this, and I'm like, of course I want to be, do this. This is something that we tried to do. Mm-hmm. Back in 1990, 89, 90. And so I was like, but, Mary's a way better. Mary's technically trained more than me. She went to college for music. Mm-hmm. So, and she, she's got more of an ear than I do. I just like, yeah, that sounds good, or that sounds bad. Oh, you're out of tune. She's very like, oh, let me play the fifth harmonic. Like, she's that person.
Right.
So I'm like, and Mary's, technically a bass player. That's her instruments also. But I was like, well, if we're going to do this, Mary's got to play guitar, because I don't want to play guitar. I haven't played guitar barely, and now, I don't even want to say how many years. So I'm a bass player. So that's what's happening now. So, yeah, it's kind of...
Especially after Mary went through all that training and everything, and then you're going to be playing guitar with her.
Yeah, and she doesn't like playing guitar either, like me. So she's like, we're both bass players, so it's like, I just don't like using a pick, so that's why I was like, oh yeah, maybe,
Well,
somebody said, why don't you just play bass? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And I switched and I bought a bass, and I'm like, okay. Because I was kind of playing bass back then too, but mostly it was guitar. That was I was into,
I mean, did you have both guitars though? Did you have a bass and a guitar, and would just screw around with both?
Yeah, I mostly, back then I would just play guitar, and then I bought a bass, and I kind of just switched. But if I was, writing, I would write kind of on both, but mostly on, yeah.
And so, when did you get your first guitar? Were you in high school, or?
Yeah, I was in high school. I was, 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now, did you buy it on your own, or did you, have to beg your parents?
My mom and dad knew I wanted to play, and I was taking guitar in school, so I had an acoustic for that, and then I wanted a Kramer because of Eddie Van Halen.
Of course.
So I was so they got me the Kramer, but I wanted it they had this blue color one, and I got the blue color one because Steve Harris had a bass that color.
Well, that's cool. At least you didn't get a Sears and Roebuck one or something like that.
Yeah, my first, I still have it. It's
oh wow.
It's yeah.
So
I won't get rid of it.
So no, now it's that's part of you. It's your memorabilia, your history.
Yeah, and that guitar is super old school. It's I don't even want to again. If I say my age, then if I tell you,
it's an antique. No,
it's pretty much an antique.
So now
it was invented in Edison's lab.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Phonograph days.
So what were some of your first shows that you played out with Derketa?
Oh my God, Derketa! We didn't start playing shows out in I can't even remember, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was that long. It was that long from that time, but luckily again we're starting to be active again, which is really good because Derketa is a band that kind of everybody gets busy and has lives, of course, so and it's pretty much just fun, but we're getting ready hopefully to record again soon. So
didn't you guys just do a tour in Asia or something not too long?
Oh God, I wish. No, we went to Denmark.
Played, Denmark,
yeah.
Asia,
Totally the same. Totally. Yeah, we played Killtown Fest. It was great. It was a really good time.
Because, I was I followed around. All I saw was really little teeny weeny bunks. So automatically I figured you guys are in Asia or something crammed.
Oh, no, it was actually really good. It was this hostel, and it was the room was really nice. I mean, it was tiny, but because it was a hostel, but it was really cool, and I don't know. That was the first time we all got to hang out for a long time, so it was cool.
In closed quarters.
Yeah, it was all right though.
So, you had mentioned, it's been a while since you guys, I think, was it 2012 or something like that, 2012, when your last one came out. I had to look that one up because I didn't know. So you said you guys are planning, you're writing some new music and hopefully planning on somewhere when you guys could all get together and put shit together, coming out with some...
Yeah, it should hopefully be out this year.
Oh, nice.
We have an idea, Sharon... she suggested some stuff, and I like the ideas, but there is new music being written too, so kind of excited.
Yeah, we all are, because it's been a while since we've heard anything, and we have seen you guys active now, out and about, so I think a lot of people are excited for new music from them as well. Now, are you guys doing anything this year? I know you said you're writing and stuff, but are you planning on playing out some shows or anything in between all your other tons of shit?
Yeah, we have a show in March with Immolation in Pittsburgh. Oh. And then there's a festival in Seattle in May. Mm-hmm. And then there was something in September. I can't remember where that was right now. I don't remember where that was.
Well, at least you're going to be doing stuff for every season.
Yeah, but I can't. I wish I could. I can't believe I can't remember where.
Well, it's far enough down the road that we could just look it up anyways.
Oh, I think it's going to be in New York, yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, that'll be nice. Yeah. And now, I've had the ladies on in Castrator before, too, and I think at the time you were probably playing with Derketa, because they all kind of got together, and they're like, well, she's not here right now. She's with their other band. And this is like just before Gruesome, too. So tell us a little bit about that band. I mean, how'd you get involved with Castrator?
Oh, goodness. Well, that's like funny because like, we don't usually share our names or anything, even though most people know, but,
they wouldn't say.
Yeah. CP and I, we were on Barge to Hell, and she was talking about starting the band with MS. and so I was like, oh, that sounds great. I wouldn't mind doing that because I played, actually, Derketa played a show in New York with Hypoxia, Carolina's other band. Mm-hmm. So that's how I met Carolina originally. And actually, I met Malika when her band, I was on tour and her band opened up for one, I think it was Immolation Invader. I don't remember actually. Mm-hmm. But, so yeah, she was talking about it and they didn't really have anything going on. And, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then we started doing stuff. And so we started doing stuff, and we've had kind of a difficult time, like, trying to find guitar players. Not that they're not shredding guitar players, because they all have been. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, I think a lot of it is, like, where the people live and commitment to it kind of thing. So we're moving forward. We've had songs written and we've scrapped them, and then we wrote more, and then we scrapped those too. And now we're back and we actually have almost all the songs written for the new record. So hopefully that will be out this year.
Oh, that'll be fun because that was so much. And I've had MS and CP on the show. But it was just so funny because the first time they came on, I think it was because of, I think you were on the Sick Drummer Magazine compilation, and I was doing a thing for Sick Drummer Magazine. And that was the first, when you guys first came out, and everybody was so afraid to use each other's names. But
yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, you don't see pictures of us. We're not about that. And
right.
We're not about, like, oh, we're a girl band. We're just we're an old school death metal band, and we want to be like perceived like that,
Right, of course.
Nowadays everybody's like, oh, well, they're girls, blah blah blah. It's like, who cares?
I know.
And I mean, obviously with the name Castrator, it's like more like obvious, but we think it's just funny. Like it's just brutal. Like, Castrator. It's just brutal.
It is, and and then you had mentioned something about how you kind of don't want to be like, oh, look at us, we're all women's in this band or whatever. But it's just kind of funny that with the name and
exactly
the name and the music, even if you were all with your real names and everything, I think people were like, whoa, yeah, just don't fuck around with them, man. They're
Yeah, it's pretty funny because people that don't know, like, I'll be on tour or something and some dude will bring it up on tour and they'll be like, the band Castrator? I'm like, yeah. Yes. Which is good because that's like, that's the point. We just want people to like the music. It's about liking them. We just want them to hopefully like the music.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, when we had, I've had them on a couple times, and everybody always loves the music and MS's voice.
Yeah.
Such a little person.
Yeah,
it's so brutal. It is just everybody's like, what is going on here? So it's just really fun, and the music is really super brutal. So that's exciting, Robin. That's exciting that you guys are writing new music too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and this is like, I actually had to incorporate a little bit of help, because like I'm a bass player, so there's only so much I can write.
Right.
So I had to incorporate someone to help me and everything with it a little bit, just to get like a guitar sound, to hear what it sounds like, because it's so difficult to, you know, there's only so much you can write on bass without a guitar player playing what your ideas are, kind of. It's really difficult.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I can't get double layered guitar things happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not going to happen. You're just going to hear bass, and drums. You know, there's not much. So hopefully people like it. It's a lot. It's brutal. I think it's brutal. I like really enjoy the Castrator stuff because it's definitely, you know, everybody's like, oh, you're in so many bands. I'm like, but they're all different.
Right.
Like,
they are. It's true.
They're not like, you know, they're all metal, of course, but I mean, you know, Derketa's death, doom metal. Gruesome's like old school death with, you know, and then, but it's different old school death than Castrator for sure.
Oh my God.
Like,
no, it's true. So it is fun for us too, the listeners too, because we get to hear you in all these different things too. And like you said, Castrator is super brutal. I mean, definitely, there's no doubt about it. So that's exciting. So now we get to look forward to new stuff from Derketa and new stuff from Castrator. So Robin, so before we get into all the gruesome stuff, so when did you get when did you get involved in like all this tour management thing? Now, how the hell did that shit pop up?
Oh my God. Well, I started doing stuff locally, you know, because this is like so stupid. My boyfriend at the time had a band, and you know, I would help him, you know, with his stuff. I did some of the fan club things. I would sell merchandise. You know what I mean? Like,
of course,
you know, like stuff like that. And I actually, my real technical job is pharmaceuticals, like legal pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, you better put that in there.
Yes, legal pharmaceuticals. And I was working in the pharmacy, and actually Gene from Angel Corpse was like, hey, we're going on tour with Marduk in Europe for 2 months. Do you think that's something you'd want to do is, you know, do merch for us? I mean, I've done band photos too, which is, nobody really knows about that. But on top of that, so like he asked me to do that after that. And I was like, I don't know. Let me think about it, you know, and all this. So I went to work and I was like, hey, do you think I can take a leave of absence or whatever? I'm like, when am I ever going to have this opportunity again? Mm-hmm. You know, well, that was 20 years ago. Because right after that, it was like, because on that tour, Cannibal joined and I was already friends with them. And they were like, hey, can you do our merch too? And then that led to me doing their merch for like a decade plus. And then, you know, other bands were like, oh, how about, can you do this? Can you do that? And then I just moved into like, oh, well, can you tour manage also? And can you do that? And then, oh, can you manage my band? And now I do that. It's like, oh my God, it's crazy. I don't know how it happened, but that's how, it's all Gene's fault.
So now we know who to blame. But I mean, it's like you're always doing something. You're like somewhere doing something. It's so hard to keep up with you.
I know, I can't keep up with myself.
So
like right now I'm advancing the merch for the ship for 70,000 tons of metal. Because I'm the merch coordinator for that as well.
Okay, so how did that happen? You can't say no?
I've known Andy, the skipper, I'll take out his name. I've known the skipper for many, many years. Like years. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this was his thing, and he brought on the people that he's known for years first, and he asked me if it would be something I'd be interested in, and I'm like, sure, you know. And now it's its own, like, it's grown beyond like anything that I'm just like, oh my God, like from what the first cruise was till this is like completely, it's crazy.
And they're still adding bands on there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that too, because I had Kim Dilla on not too long ago, and she's like the wardrobe girl on there.
Yep, I got her that gig.
There you go. I was like, what is? I said, every woman I have on here has a job over with, and I think that what is like, I'm not sure just from what I read and stuff, but all like the 70,000 tons of metal girls like Samantha Landa, and now is Carolina going to be on there again this year?
Yeah, she does merch with me.
Oh, yep. That'll be cool. So, all right, I just kind of figured as much, but I wasn't sure. Yeah. So that's kind of nice, though, that Andy does have all you guys or girls on that he's known throughout the years, instead of, because at least he knows what you're capable of without having to take a chance on somebody else, and you're all cool and nice and stuff, so that always helps.
Yeah, it's like we always say, it's like, especially the merch thing, we work so hard, and it's brutal, but we have the most fun. That's the thing, like, people just, like, somebody even said to me the other day, they're like, you've been doing this for so long, and you see so much, and they're like, you're still so excited to see bands. It's like, what in the heck? And I'm like, I love it. I love it. Like, what other, it's like, what other job do you get paid to watch bands you like love? It's like insane. Why would it suck?
I know. What did they expect me to do? Oh, fuck now. I gotta watch Slayer every goddamn night.
I know. Like, yeah. I mean, like, that's like, and then sometimes I even sit there still and I'm like, I can't, like, my childhood self cannot believe this is happening. Like, it's just really weird. Like, it's so, like, even after like 60 shows watching Slayer, I'm still like, I can't believe I'm watching Slayer. Like, it's crazy. I don't know.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to ask you that too. What is it like? I mean, it's like you said, here's like bands that you're like love, and then what do you do when they're like, hey, could you mind being a tour manager for the Slayer tour? I mean,
oh my God, I could never tour manage Slayer. I would be like, they'd be like, do this. I'd be like, what? Like, I don't know. I'd be like, you got, like, I couldn't tell them what to do. Like, I'd be like, no, I can't tell you.
But at least you get to, it looks like you're having a great time anyways. And you always, I mean, even meeting you, there's so much you gotta do. It's like babysitting. I don't know. It's like babysitting, but
it's a little bit like babysitting. Because, I mean, it's basically like, you're on a tour, and, I mean, the minimum amount of people on a tour is like, when it's not just your band, a minimum amount is, say, like 8.
Right.
And everybody's going to have different personalities.
Yes.
And even in your own band, and it's like, you have to know, I guess, it can be difficult, and these are people that you're living with day in and day out, and you have to know like their different personalities, and not get offended easily, and not take things to heart, because everybody has a bad day, of course. I mean, it's so you have to just kind of roll with the punches, and not everything's going to go 100% smoothly on a daily basis. So it's you have to just learn that, I guess, because I've seen people that just break down a lot. It's like, oh, they want this and they want that. It's like, and like, that's
that's your job. Go get it for them.
I want pizza, so I'm gonna deal with it. Like, there you go. Like, it's the same thing with anything. I always say, like, everybody's like, what's it like? I'm like, every day's a Monday, every day's a Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
You're like, you drag your feet, you like wake up, you're like, oh, I gotta go do this. Then at the end of the night, you're like, it's Friday party. It's like, that's just what it's like. And you're touring around with 99.99999% killer people. I don't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I don't know. It's insane.
So what's like some of the biggest frustrations that you have to deal with?
Me personally, or being
on the job, being on tour, yeah.
Having to go to the bathroom and you get to the venue and it's not open.
Oh.
That is one of my biggest frustrations. That is the biggest frustration for, like, that. So, you know, you're like, you pull up, it's like 10 a.m. and the doors don't open for 2 hours, and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, that sucks.
It's a little things that you take for granted, like that.
Especially for women, that's really bad. It's not like you could just... And of course, a lot of times there's no pooping on the bus.
Well, that's what I mean. So it's like, that's like...
I've been holding it till we get here.
Yeah, that's probably sorry people, but that's probably my biggest.
Well, then that's not bad. That's not too bad if that's your biggest frustration. But boy, at the time, that's like the worst thing in the freaking world. So.
That is honestly my biggest frustration, sadly. But.
So hey, have you ever had to deal with any kind of like disrespect or anything like that? Because you don't really see a lot of women tour managers.
Well, you know, I've had people like say that, and I find it's so weird. Again, maybe because I don't know, maybe I'm just been around for so long, or I'm immune to it, or I'm jaded. I don't pay attention to stuff like that. So if somebody says like, oh, he just disrespected me because I'm a woman or whatever, I'm like, I don't know. You know, I mean, I've had statements like, oh, I didn't realize you were a girl, like, you know, because they'll see my name, and I mean, my name's Robin.
That's true. Yeah.
It's technically a girl name, but like, you know, they see it. I mean, Europe, forget about it. They all think I'm a guy. You know, but you know what I mean? So they're like, oh, I didn't realize you were a girl. I never worked with a girl before, you know, but nothing. I've never had anybody like blatantly, you know, I don't know.
Well, that's good. Well, they just disrespect you like they would one of the guys then.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
it's more like they're like looking at me like, why aren't I carrying a cab? Like, like when I'm carrying something else, they're like looking at me like, you know, I have had a couple of people like, oh, don't let me do that, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what, you know, you can carry it. Like, I'm like, it's the only exercise I get out here. Let me carry it, you know. But
that's not bad then.
No, but I mean, like, again, I'm so different, like, mentally thinking than other women, I think, that I don't know if I'm desensitized and I just don't pay attention.
But that's probably
because to me, in my mind, I'm like, I don't even think, oh, I'm a girl out here on tour. I think that I am part of the team, so I don't ever, you know, think any different.
Sure. And so what's it like for you to like? All right, you get off one tour, then you got to jump on another one. Does it ever? I mean, do you ever get sick or anything? It's like, how does she survive? It's like, okay, I'm just landing here. Okay, I'm taking off for here. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's the only, I think I've started 2 tours, like, really sick. Actually, I remember one tour I started sick, and it was right from one of the cruises.
Ugh.
I got off the cruise, and I was kind of okay, and I flew, and that's when I got sick. And I was sick like the first week.
Ugh.
And I was patient 0, and I got everybody sick. You know, I want to say I almost killed Bobby Blitz. He got sick, and he got pneumonia or something, and had to go home. But yes, it was my fault. But or he blames me. I say it's not my fault because it was like 3 weeks later. But not my fault. But he still blames me. But that one, and then I was really, really sick on, it was Obituary Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in Arizona, and I went to a spring training game, because that's the other thing. I'm really into baseball, sorry, another boring thing. But I'm really into baseball. So I went to spring training and like I felt fine. And then like later that night I was like not feeling that great. And then the next day just so sick and like, and then the next day after that, super even more sick. But I had to like work you don't get a break.
Right.
Like you can't call in sick to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was like, that was pretty brutal. And another time I was really sick, but that was like years ago. But I find that as long as I keep going and going, you know, you get your occasional cold.
Right.
But if I keep going and going, I'm fine until I get home, and then I'm like, ooh, and that's when it kicks in.
That's not too bad then, with all the places you've gone to and everything you're doing, just to have those couple of incidences. Now, have you been to like every freaking country yet?
No, it's like I've been to every state except for Alaska. And I've been to pretty much everywhere except for like places like I really want to go. Like I want to go to like Egypt and places like that, but you know, I want to go to weird places. But I finally went to Russia like for the first time, and I finally went to Japan. But I've never been to South America.
Well, that's not too unforeseeable, I don't think. I think you'll probably end up there by the end of your career.
We'll see. But it's, you know, because like a lot of times, you know, I do a lot of merchandise, and, you know, a lot of those places, they don't, you know, have merchandisers basically, so you don't really need to be there. And if I'm tour managing, a lot of times I opt out because I feel like the band could make more money if, say, I'm not there. You know what I mean? Like they can take care of, you know, it's just a lot. It's so expensive, you know, overall. So,
well, what's like one of the things that you enjoy touring most? I know you get to meet a lot of people and see a lot of different places, even though a lot of times you're just driving through. But like, what are some of your fond memories?
Oh God,
a few.
Oy. My fond memories.
Yes, fondest memories of the road.
That's hard to say. I want to say one of the best, like we still talk about it, one of the best days off ever was, and I don't want to incriminate anybody, but it was like one of but we all still discuss it. It was like, oh my God, at this point, it's probably like 6 years, maybe 7 years ago. It was, we were in Pensacola Beach, and it was Exodus, Anthrax, Municipal Waste tour, and who else was on that? Holy Grail. Mm-hmm. And I think High on Fire was on it too, but High on Fire wasn't there. But we all had like a day off, and I actually found this place, and like it was just crazy, and we just all hung out, and it was insane, and it was so much fun. And then there was like this small like tornado hurricane that came through. It was insane. But it was like, we all like, that was the best day off ever. And then the next day was in Tampa, and everybody was miserable. Actually, it got split. Anthrax went to Orlando, and Exodus played in Tampa, and everybody else went to Orlando because Exodus wasn't allowed to play in Orlando because of Walt Disney. They were banned.
Oh my goodness.
So Exodus played in Tampa, and everybody went to Orlando. Yeah. It was crazy. That was a crazy day. I don't know, there's just so many, like, it's really hard to say, you know? I mean, I've gone to like football games and baseball games and hockey games that are all great, and, you know, like, I don't know. There's so many, like, I can't think, really.
There's so much. You've been everywhere. You've done so much, you know, and you see a lot of things, but...
Yeah, I'm just like, what is... yeah.
There's so many.
I mean, the Thanksgiving in Ohio with King Diamond and everybody, that was pretty cool. You know, for the most part, because, you know... That was a good time. Actually, like, I want to say this is, like, honestly, probably some of the best memories, honestly, are just like maybe like I had such a good time with Gruesome this summer living in a van for 25 days.
Oh my God.
You know, like I literally got off that Slayer tour that was with Lamb of God and Anthrax, and Behemoth and Testament. And then I went right to Europe, so I missed that second leg of that tour because I was touring with Gruesome. And yeah, I went from doing that, catering all the time, to living in a van.
In the van, subway for you.
I was in the van for like almost 4 weeks, and I was tour managing the band, doing merch, loading in and playing.
That sounds like
and we had no days off. The only day off we had was a drive day, Denmark to Germany, and that was like 12 hours.
Oh my God.
But that, you know, those are some of the, you know, best times. Like that was actually great, you know, because I actually got to play and experience other things, and, you know.
Got to play a lot.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I said, we did like almost 25 shows with 1 day off, so like, that was crazy.
Absolutely.
It was great.
And speaking of Gruesome, Robin, now tell us how you got that gig.
Well, because I look like I could be Terry Butler's sister. No, it's basically they already had the project going, and Gus, I've known Gus, God, I've known Gus forever. Me and Gus used to have a band back, like, before he was even in Malevolent. Like, it was called Impure. And we played out. Gus actually played guitar and sang in that band. So, you know, he always did stuff, and they were doing that, and he called me one day, and he's like, hey, you know, I have this thing going on. This is what it's about. You know, they just had like the demo, and he's like, I'll send it to you this way you can check it out. Are you interested in playing? I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm like, do you want me to try out? He's like, I don't need you to try out. He's like, you're the only one that we all agree should be in the band. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, if that's, you know, if you think I could do it or whatever, they're like, you're in. And I'm like, okay. So that's how that happened, pretty much. And it's just, you know, because I think, too, I actually also worked for Death to All, which is kind of like, you know, so the only one that never did was Dan. And I'm the only one that actually knew Chuck. So I think that's another reason also that they think that I was probably, you know, I was always like around, and I've known every single person that I think ever played in Death. I've seen Death in every lineup, and you know what I mean? And it just was more, that was another reason, I think. Plus, they make me do all the business. So that's
their ulterior motive going on there.
Yeah.
So what's it like for you then now? Like you said, you know, you've been around Death, the band, and you've seen all the lineups, and now you're playing in this, like, great tribute band. So what was it like? I mean, I know you know all the guys in Gruesome anyways, but what was it like to, like, all get together? Now you're playing this music and then hearing what you did for the first time.
It's really, you know, I can't even, like, I mean, I remember where I was when I found out, when I got the message that Chuck passed away. Mm-hmm. I remember exactly where I was, and I remember, you know, and, you know, and when I went out with DTA, it was with the lineup with Paul and Sean. Mm-hmm. And Steve and Max was singing, and I've never seen Max sing, and I was behind him at because it was the first show was like a festival, and I couldn't see his face, but I just saw the back of him and I could hear his voice, and I literally started crying because I was like, it was just like, holy crap, like it looked like Chuck, like the way he moves and stands and everything, and I was like his hair, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, it freaked me out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, holy crap. And I literally like was like, oh my God. And so when this thing came up, I was like, okay, you know, like, what's ever going to become of this? You know, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I'll jam. You know, none of us thought this was going to go anywhere.
Right.
Like, we were just like, oh, this is just, you know, it's something cool that we want to do, and we like playing. And when they asked me, I'm like, yeah, because I play in another band, actually. It's called Thrash Attack. It's a thrash metal cover band. So, like, I was like, okay, this is kind of like a next level. It's like just death, tribute, and I mean, if you're a metalhead, who doesn't love death?
Right.
I mean, Jesus, you have to. Like, it's stamped on your
card.
death metal birth certificate. Like, come on. Like, if you don't like death, then you shouldn't even, like, I mean, come on. And so it was kind of like, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, okay, this is crazy. Like, you know, and then I remember, like, we never really played together. It was like, oh, here's our show, let's go. And like, what's happening? Like, we don't ever really get together and practice. Like, Gus and Dan will, or like, I'll play on my own, and like maybe like we don't have enough time as a collective.
Right.
So like, it's like, oh, here's your first show in Montreal, Canada. Here you go. Bang. It's like, okay. And I know sometimes, like, I'm on stage and I could just, like, Matt, even when he's singing, sometimes I'm like, Jesus. Like, it's just, like, I get goosebumps.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, holy, like, sometimes he'll do those, like, when we do death covers and he does some of the screams, I'm like, like, I want to get in the pit and start, just, you know, like, yeah, like, you know, because it's just like, it brings me back to, like, it's just like, hell yeah, like, it's so heavy. And it's, you know, and like, to us, like I said, we never thought anybody, we thought, okay, we're just gonna, like, nobody's gonna care, like, maybe a couple people like, oh, this is cool. We never thought it was gonna be, like, where it's at, kind of.
Right.
I don't want to say as big as it is, because it's not big, but
right.
For like a tribute band,
yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, it's like people are just like, oh, you know, you have different opinions, of course, like, oh, you're just trying to rip off death. Yeah, we're ripping off death with our
look at our mansions.
We're a tribute band. Oh, you're just trying to make money. It's like, okay, yeah, here, you want to see the here's your 30-cent royalty check. There it is. Like, you know, yeah, we're living in vans and not shower because we're making so much money. Like, you know, it's not about that. It's about, like, we just love death and we love metal and we love to play. It's like, you know, we're not making thousands of $1 off of this at all by any means, you know.
I do, and it's like you said, I've talked to a couple of the other guys that have been on, and they basically said the same thing, especially when you guys kind of first came out and first started releasing music. People didn't know anything about your band at all, about Gruesome at all, and that's all they saw. They didn't know anything about how you guys were fans of them, or how, you know, you knew Chuck and how everybody loves death, and you just want to do some kind of a tribute thing, but kind of do your own thing at the same time. It just, nobody knew, you know. Now I think more and more people know what the hell you guys are doing, and it's a tribute, and now they could just, instead of worrying about all this other crap, they could just enjoy it, and I think they do, because earlier I think there was more people like that, but now I don't really come across any of it. And
yeah, I mean, what do they say? It's like imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Right.
And it's like, hello.
I know. Well, and a lot of people are probably just, well, you know, some people just like to bitch about anything, as we all know.
Well, of course. I mean, you know, it's like with anything. It's like, do you want to see a cover band or do you want to see the real band? Of course I want to see the real band. But is it going to happen? Unfortunately not.
Right,
you know?
right,
it's
right.
like, that's just, that's just the sad truth of it. It's not going to happen. Yes, you have Death to All, and that's the closest you're going to get. But, I mean, as far as, new music, we try to recreate, take Chuck's legacy and formula of what he did and just try and create something that, that we want to listen to as well, and be like, wouldn't this be rad? It's like you can hear death riffs everywhere, of course. I mean, it's blatantly obvious, and that's the thing, we've never tried to hide what we are. That's the thing, when people are like, wow, don't they know? It's like, no, we have no clue. That's why the logo looks like that. It's like, come on. And because of course we have a clue of why. Yes, it's
Well, something that's kind of cool, too, with the band is, I think when a lot of people see you live, they get a whole different perspective of it. I know when I saw you guys, there was a lot of people that didn't know who you were at the time, and they were like, who is this? They're like, they sound just like this. This is awesome. And for, where there wouldn't be a lot of people in the room, all of a sudden everybody starts coming in because they got to see what the hell is going on there. And it's fun, and everybody enjoys it, and it really is... I don't know what to say. It's like a spectacle to see and hear, because it is almost like hearing death, And then, of course, when you do stuff like have people like Terry Butler come up, if you guys are on, that is just freaking amazing. And
I'm like, go make me look bad now, Terry.
But it's just I mean, it's just fun because people hear him playing, and then, when they hear you up there too, it's just a really fun experience. If everybody hasn't seen Gruesome, and if they like death at all, of course, like you said, who doesn't that's in it? They've got to go see you guys. It's so much fun.
And go away.
Exactly. I mean, they've got to go see you. It's just so fun, and the sound is just phenomenal, and Matt sounds great, and everybody sounds great, and it's
Matt's a great frontman. I find myself, I don't know if you noticed, but the whole time in between songs when he's talking, I'm looking at him to see what he's gonna say, because I'm always laughing.
He's really good with the crowd, and he's, it's just really, really fun to watch you guys. And so you guys just came out with an album last year, so you already, I'm assuming in your heads, you already know what you want to get going on for the next one.
Oh my God, they have everything. I'm kind of fighting it a little bit, because without giving too much away, I am more and I feel like and I hate to say it's an age thing, but even when there's a 4-year, 5-year age gap, whatever record came out at that time is usually going to be your favorite, closer to it, I feel. And I am a total Scream Bloody Gore Leprosy girl. That's my death. Super old school, raw, do I love Leprosy? Of course I love Leprosy. That's as far as I go. Even Spiritual Healing, I love. I am super that level. Some of the other guys are, Spiritual Healing, Human, Individual Thought Patterns, like that. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I like less techie. I like, I'm more not thinking about bang your head, that person.
Right.
I'm always no more notes. That's what, there's a joke, and I'm always less notes. Dumb it down. That's but not that it's dumber riffs, but you know what I mean.
No,
just the more we're say the super you want to punch people, you know what I mean. You don't want to punch people where there's arpeggios and techie riffs. You're not in the mood, So it's I'm more the old school. So you can only imagine. I mean, we kind of we haven't followed the whole pattern, obviously, because we started with Savage Land, and then we went to Dimensions. which it should have been opposite. And then it was like, we went to, you know, Fragments with like, that's a human record, but then we go back to Twisted Prayers,
right,
which is spiritual. So obviously, you know, if you know spiritual is the last one we did, it's going to go to the next level. But I am fighting because I feel like I got ripped off with because I only got an EP. So do it full length.
Hey, if they went backwards before, they could go backwards again.
Yes. So, like, that's what I'm fighting for, so we'll see.
Okay, well then,
yes. Because I feel like I did get ripped off.
I think you
Dimensions was only an EP, and I feel like that's, like, I mean, come on, that's what set Death. Like, that was, I mean, not that it set them on the map. I feel like Leprosy, obviously, was their quintessential record, but... Mm-hmm. If you, like, Scream Bloody Gore, like, to me, as, like, you know, seeing them back, that was, like, what is this? Like,
right,
you know,
right.
Like, you know, I remember the first, like, it's kind of like the first time I heard Obituary. The first time I heard Obituary, Slowly We Rot on cassette, I was like, holy crap, rewind, play it again, rewind, play it again. Like, I mean,
right.
I love Celtic Frost, and this just took it to, like, a whole new, like, dimension. Like, what is this?
Right.
Like, you know, because like I said, there's only, like, I remember hearing, like, you know, you grow up and you hear music and blah, blah, blah. There's certain bands that you remember hearing for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it, like, blatantly went, holy crap, like, and that, I remember Slowly We Rot was one of them. Like, I mean, I was already, like, Malevolent and all that stuff, but hearing Slowly We Rot took it to a whole different level. Because, you know, Malevolent was like a local band for me.
Yep.
So, like, okay, yeah, I mean, that was already, like, in the death metal. And Cynic was death metal back then, and death, but Slowly We Rot, Jesus. And then, you know, and with Amon back then, and, you know, Morbid, but, like, Slowly We Rot was the first song I heard when it was, like, from the, like, early demo, and I was like, what in the hell? This is sick. Like, what is this? You know, like, come on. I mean, Jesus Christ. They're like they play like the same four riffs like AC/DC, but make it just like freaking so heavy. It's insane.
It's great. And to this day, that's still like everybody's favorite song when they play it.
Holy crap. It's still my favorite song. And I've seen them play it. I don't even want to tell you, like 4,000 million times, and it's still probably my favorite song that they play.
And it's fun, and everybody loves. I mean, everybody goes crazy when they play that.
How could you not? It's sick.
I know it's
sick. It's ridiculous. They're so heavy. It's stupid. It's like, true. What is this? It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. They're like, it's the simplest, like, done, like. It's ridiculous. But I got sidetracked from Gruesome and Derketa. Obituary is, like, ridiculous. Like, heavy-wise. Like, and that's the thing. And, again, it's, like, not the technicality of a band. It's, like, what you can do with the music. It's, like, they're just, it's ridiculous. I can't even believe
it. So do you guys got anything going on with Gruesome this year as far as shows and stuff like that, Robin?
Basically, well, Twisted Prayers came out in June,
right.
And we did the tour, and we haven't really done much since then at all. We've been talking, we're hopefully, like, again, we're so bit, like, everybody's scheduled,
right.
Like, Matt's busy, like, Exhumed, and now Pounder, you know, which Pounder is pretty rad if you,
yeah,
not that Exhumed's not, but, like, Pounder, and, you know, now Dan's been busy now with Possessed.
Right.
So, and I'm busy, like, with every other thing. And Gus, you know, Gus is fairly busy. He has his, like, you know, projects going on. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to work around everybody's schedule. And we've been trying to do a U.S. run. Mm-hmm. And we might go back to Europe this summer. And we're just trying to, like, do anything. Because we feel like, or I feel like this record came out in June and it had, like, all the potential and it was there. And it kind of just was like, okay, and it still has a lot of people talking about it, but I feel like it wasn't pushed as much as the other records.
Right.
So, I mean, we're okay. But meanwhile, they've already started writing for the new record, so it's okay. It's like, whatever. So, but we should go to Europe, and I think we might go to South America, actually. We're working on that. And then, like I said, hopefully a U.S. tour of some sort. It's just, you know, it's not that we don't get asked, which is really nice. We do, but a lot of times none of us are available.
At the same time, right.
Oh, it's awful. Like, you know, and I remember like that when we going back when we first were talking about Gruesome when it started, I was on tour with Matt. I wasn't working with, but Exhumed. I was working for the other bands on the tour, and the first record, Savage Land, didn't come out yet. And Matt and I were talking, and we're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And me and him, and especially him, too, he was just like, yeah, we'll see. Like, you know, we never, like I said, we never knew if we were even going to tour or play shows on this.
Right.
Like, it was just kind of like, oh, let's put it out, and hopefully people like it, kind of. It's like, oh, here's our, like, demo tribute, and thing, and I remember we were on tour, and he was just like, yeah, nobody's gonna care, and I was like, yeah, I don't think so either, and blah blah blah.
Wrong.
Like, and then like the record came out, and like it was like, oh, what? What? Like people, wait, what? Like it was kind of crazy. Like we were both like pretty. I don't want to say shocked, but just like wow, like, you know.
It's because so many people love that kind of music, and it kind of reminds them of back in the day when Death was putting that kind of stuff out, and it's just fun, I think, for a lot of people, especially in the scene now, or whatever you want to call it. There's so much huge oversaturation of all this death metal and brutal death metal and a million different technical things and math metal. There's just so much that when you finally get to strip all that shit down and get back to the basics, it's almost refreshing again, Robin.
I know. Like, it's like weird. Again, it's weird for me because I remember being the person, like, you know, you tape traded, and I was like really big because I did all the mail for Demonomacy back then, and I like had, like, I still have it. I have like a whole book with everybody I used to write to, and you know, like, and the ads, and like that was the way you got your thing, and that was amazing. And I like being on tour. I feel like I'm lucky enough to be on tour that I get to, you know, there's bands that I'm exposed to that I don't think I would ever probably have the time to even know about.
Right.
You know, like newer bands that I'm like, I would be like, never even in a million years have the time.
Right.
Or, you know, especially, you know, as you get older, you know, life happens, and you don't know new bands. You're still listening to something that you listened to in like 1983.
Right,
like,
it's true.
You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm lucky in that. And even with the internet, you know, like, oh, here's my band on Bandcamp. It's like, I don't have that much time to listen to a band on Bandcamp. And I don't have kids or a family like that. So like, I do have more time than probably somebody that does, you know, and I can't imagine, but that I feel like I'm fortunate in that aspect, that I do get to hear newer bands, and some of them and I feel like kind of, I don't know, I could be wrong again, but the bands that I've been exposed to recently, it feels like they're trying to go for that old school nostalgia, like thrash death metal, and trying to bring that back instead of like, you know, like I feel like it's on that path again. Like, you know how like the metal scene kind of goes through this rotation and I feel like it's back on that. Like all the younger, newer bands are trying to bring back that old school sound. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be talking out my butt. Okay? But like, you know, certain like bands that I feel that have toured, that I've been on tour with, and, you know, see.
Well, I think you're right, especially as far as the thrashy stuff goes, I think they're definitely going towards that direction again, which is fine with me personally.
Totally with me too. I'm like, oh, I'm a death metal chick, and then I'm like, I love blah 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 blah, and I'm like, wait, maybe I'm thrash metal. Okay. I'm like, but there's like a weird instance. Like there's some, like, that's what I keep saying. Like, some of the death stuff has thrash elements. Sure. So I'm like, it's like deathy thrash. I'm like,
there you go. But I think you're right in that aspect. And Robin, what is your like favorite part of working in the music industry?
My favorite part?
Yeah. I mean, traveling, meeting new people, all of that stuff. None of that stuff.
None. I'm like, none of that? No. Like, that's cool. Like, that's the thing. It's like I said, everybody kind of makes fun of me. They're like, you talk to everybody. I'm like, I mean, you see me at merch. I feel like I'm like, hey, blah, 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 and I talk to people about everything.
But that's
like, it's
good.
Stupid. You know, but I do. Like, I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm just so into, like, the music, and I just, like, if I always wanted, like, I always felt like I wanted to be a part of it, no matter whether I was playing or working in it, you know, like, I just want to be, like, it doesn't even matter to me. I just love it so much. I love it. Like, it's my life. And they always, you know, it's just something, that's the difference. Like, I remember watching something years ago, and a kid said it perfectly. Like, a metalhead is not, like, it's not something, like, metal is not something you listen to. It's like a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And it's you, and it engulfs you, and that's 100% accurate. If you're like you know, it's your life. Like, it's, you know, and that's just how, you know, I just love it. I can't even, I don't know. I don't know. And it's like, you just made me think of something that was, like, so funny. Like, that happened on tour when I'm like, oh, I love talking to everybody. And then I'm like,
except you.
No. It was, I was just thinking about, like, I was on tour with King Diamond, mm-hmm. and these two guys talking about, like, not even like a female thing, just like a fan thing. Like, I was at the merch, and I get it. Like, some people that do merch, they just do it. It's a job, and blah, blah, especially, like, certain bands, whatever. But, like, I mean, for me, it's like, I am, like, quintessential, like, fan, you know?
Right.
And I remember being at the merch, and it was in Toronto, and these guys came up to the merch booth, and they were like, blah, 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 you're just selling merch because you're a chick. Like, that was it. Like, when we were going back, you're just a chick and you just have this as a job. I'm like, uh-huh. Like, you don't know anything about King Diamond. I'm like, okay, uh-huh. And then they proceeded to, like, quiz me. They quizzed me. And I was like, uh-huh, okay, go ahead. I was like, yeah, like, and because I know, you know, and I'm like, and I was like getting kind of like, not mad, but just like, yeah, okay, just whatever, just, what do you, like, because they were kind of being, I mean, they were having fun, they were drunk, so I can't be like, oh, they were jerks or whatever, you know. Right. They were just being like, not smart, okay. And they were quizzing me on King Diamond, like, for 20 minutes. But I passed.
Yay!
So they were like, they're like, okay, cool, you're good. I'm like, thanks, you know.
Did they buy anything?
Like, yeah, they did. I don't think they didn't. I think that was like the precedent, because they were like, we're not going to buy anything from you because you know nothing about King Diamond. You're not even a fan. I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the King. And they're like, okay, well, we'll quiz you first. And I'm like, are you serious? Go ahead. Bring it on. Like, you know, because, you know what I mean? And I think that's when going back to your earlier question, that was like one of the times where it was kind of like, oh, you're just a chick that sells merch. And,
well, you showed them, Robin.
I got 100%.
Right on. So okay, so have we missed anything? Are you doing any other projects that we don't know about? Oh, God.
Let me think.
Anybody else you didn't say no to?
Oh my God, let me think about this. No, I think I'm a good, besides my like charity, you want to talk about charity
work? Yes, absolutely.
We don't have to.
No, let's put it in there. Sure.
So, like, I'm very into charities. I don't, like, if you see me on tour, I have, like, a tip jar. And it's not a tip jar. It's all the money gets donated to charities, just so everybody knows. And this weekend, I also have a charity event that we're on our 8th year. And it's called Metal for the Military. And we donate, I gather items from my tours that I'm on, and we auction them off, and we have local stuff, and Dean Guitars also donates a guitar, and we have bands play and everything, and that's one of my events. I've also done Metal Magdalene Headbangers Furball with Donald Tardy from Obituary, because he's very much into cats.
Bring a can of cat food.
He has that foundation, so he does all that, so we've done charities for him. And everything. I just want people to know that if they're listening and they have donated, yes, all that money that they donate goes to charities. I donate to cancer foundations, veterans, and animals.
Well, I remember
I'm very much into that.
Death Metal Dave, when he used to be
by the way, Death Metal Dave called me today and he said, make sure you say Death Metal Dave in your face.
Oh, there. Oh, we missed that. That's so funny because he's really involved in all that too. So that's where we first.
He does Metal for the Military with me. Him, my roommate Shannon, and Tom from Crowbar. It's a venue in Ybor. We're the 4 main people that do Metal for the Military.
And also when you were talking about the Metal
Magdalene.
and I remember him talking about that, and bring a can of cat food or something. You bring some cat food with you, and you could get in for I don't know what the hell it was, but it was just some kind of.
We all do that as well. That's
and that's
I'm
really
very
cool.
big into charities, so I just want people to know.
Well, that is cool to know that you're involved with all of that too, and the Metal Meowsha or whatever the hell.
Metal Meowlisha.
Metal Meowlisha. They do a lot. I mean, what is he like? You taking like feral cats and spay them?
Donald
oh my God.
Donald feeds feral colonies here in Tampa. He traps them and gets them fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm on tour with Obituary, usually when I'm collecting for that, that's usually where the money goes. I buy, just so everybody knows too, I don't just hand them money. I buy a gift card at PetSmart, who also matches the donations that I do. Nice. So hand it over, just so people know that it's like legit. So that's I just want people to know that it's legit charities.
That's awesome. Well, we know because we've heard so much about them, and we've seen all the great work that all of those charities do, and I think we got everything covered. So there you all go. Robin Mazen, bassist in Derketa, Gruesome, tour manager, merch gal, usually all at the same time, charity liaison, out on the road across the country and the world. Robin, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show, and all the best to you and all this stuff you got going on in all your travels.
And I'm sorry for boring everybody.